So I've been in the shits for probably almost a month, or over a month. I'm not sure. It's been up and down, but generally trending down. And it's interesting that I can almost pinpoint when this started. I was feeling pretty powerfully in myself, powerfully being, powerfully present, like not swayed by external influence, not taking on projections, taking on stories. And then we went to IKEA. And, you know, I didn't do anything to kind of prepare for that environment, that experience. And as many times as I have been in and out of what could be called the more woo side of this stuff, where I'm like, okay, so, you know, I am, whatever is going on with me, there's a heightened degree of sensitivity, and I have the tendency to not just feel, but absorb, to personalize, to take on as my own shit that doesn't belong to me. Collective energy, collective feeling, collective pain, collective stories. The stories and the pains of just people that are around me. This brain of mine is intensely logical and skeptical, and it's interesting for me actually to be unable to deny this stuff, and that may be surprising to some people, but for most of my life I was agnostic, and yet I have always had experiences and feelings that defied any sort of logical explanation, or whatever logical explanation was applied really just didn't satisfy. It really didn't make a lot of sense. Anyways, all I'm saying is I forget over and over that I am, whatever it is about this body, the way that I am experiencing in this lifetime, or, you know, if it's just me, I don't know. This is how experiencing is when there is a thinner filter on top of it, and it's always been this way throughout the course of this lifetime. I absorb things, I feel things from other people. It started out as certainly a defense mechanism, but also just something that I was capable of, and began pretty quickly to misuse because I misunderstood what this was. I didn't know what this was. I didn't know not everybody was consciously experiencing things the way that I was. And I do believe it's possible for all people to, but I am starting to see and acknowledge that this is a feature of the life experience that I am currently having that is not a feature of the life experience that every human being is currently having, in the same way that we don't all have the same hair, the same skin color, the same bodily composition, whatever, you know, the same brain that works the same way. This is a thing for me, that this is a part of my way of experiencing this time. Long story short, it does appear that I need to do things if I don't want to. If I do not consciously say to myself, we're not going to pick things up, we're not going to absorb things, it's not our place to do that. It is not our role. It's not required of us. It's not necessary. It's not even helpful. There's a deep story. There are deep stories here. Before I ever heard the word empath, which is what really does kind of demonstrate to me This has always been here. This has never been tied to a word. I never considered myself a thing, but my whole life I have been taking on the pain of others and the pain of the world, the pain of the collective. That was just a thing that came naturally to me. And so clearly there was a story deeply embedded, perhaps even predating this incarnation, that said, this is what I do. I take on pain. I take on the suffering of others. I hold for them what they don't seem to be able to hold for themselves. And this is my role, and there's this sort of saint-like, martyr complex thing going on. And just what I'm recognizing is that's not my place. That is not something that I am supposed to do, that I have to do, that I am required to do. It's not something that I need to, or something even actually helpful for me to do. In fact, it may be somewhat the opposite. I don't mean harmful, but not helpful, in that an individuated, if you want to call it a soul, what I see as like an individuated pocket of experiencing that does have its own sense of self. This is hard to even explain. But for us to learn how to hold, how to be space, how to observe what is within without identifying with it, we have to be allowed to do that. We can't have things held for us. It's actually an overstep. It's actually an infringing upon the free will of another being consciousness to try to do that, to try to take the pain that is theirs. I cannot solve suffering for another. If there is another who is absorbed in the war against what is, who is absorbed in suffering, I can't stop that, and I don't need to. The only thing I can do, the only war that I can end, is the one in me. When I start taking on the wars of others, I end up myself at war. I end up departing from my own peace, my own knowing. And then not only am I not helping them, I'm not helping myself. I'm not... The only way that I could even be of benefit to anybody else is by staying in my own lane. Ending the war in myself, giving up the suffering, giving up, actually, the martyrdom, the surrogate suffering that martyrdom is, and simply demonstrating what that looks like. And finally last night I had enough space, enough awareness, and I was fed up enough with feeling the way that I felt, recognizing that nothing that I physically did was going to stop this, and yet this was not something that needed to happen. This suffering was not something that I needed to experience. It was not necessary. It was not helping me grow. It was not helping life grow. There was not life in this suffering. There was not expansion in this pain. To feel the difference between a grief, a pain that is expansive, that is open and flowing, and a pain that feels stifling. It's the opposite. It feels closed. It feels like a dead end. It feels like being trapped in a hallway that doesn't go anywhere. And that kind of pain is not necessary. That is the pain that I have taken from other people. And of course, it doesn't feel like going anywhere because there's nowhere for it to go. That pain can't move through me. It can't. So of course, the whole sensation of it is like stuck. It's stuckness. It's this dead end. It wants to be let through, but I am not the passage that it can move through. It's not my place to do that. So it has to be put down. And there are lots of stories that I know I have internalized, that I'm still working on the awareness of, that say, oh no, you're a bad person, you're a bad empath, you're a bad whatever. You're bad, you're callous, you're uncaring. If you're not willing to take on the suffering of others, you're uncaring. But I know that's a bunch of shit. That's bullshit. And when I do take on those stories, the only satisfaction that's there is a very shallow, egoic kind of satisfaction. When I am in that place, and I have been recently, for the past several weeks, when I am in that place of believing the story that I should take the suffering of the world seriously, that it should be serious and I should be suffering with the world, when I do that, the only thing that I feel that is any kind of satisfaction is a sort of moral superiority. That's it. The sort of good girl, good for you suffering kind of feeling of like, you're doing a good job and your reward will come later. All of your feeling bad will lead to good feeling at a later point when you've earned it by absorbing all of this suffering and really just suffering endlessly. So there's a blooming victim identity there, and there is a kind of satisfaction in that, but it's so small. It's puny in comparison to the pain. And really, at the root of this story is an attempt to trade feeling bad now for feeling good later. But if now is all there is, then all that's ever going to be is bad feeling. And when I say bad feeling, I mean like truly the unnecessary suffering, again, in which there is no life. There is no expansion. Thinking that choosing to feel bad now is going to get me good feeling later is ridiculous. It's absurd. It's stupid. And there was anger in me for even believing that story. But of course, there's no judgment. There's nothing to blame. And that anger was my passageway out, a way into the actual hurt over this. Okay, so now I can tap into something that's real, the hurt over having taken on this story. It hurts to have allowed myself to believe this again. But I can sit with that feeling, and when I'm purely in that feeling and I'm not carrying any of the other weight that's not mine to carry, the suffering ceases. Now there's just anger. And I can be with the anger. And I can see it, and I can allow it, and I don't have to give it any other kind of story. And now space is growing, space enough to see, again, that it is the mind which is at war with everything. Now, instead of identifying with the mind, which I had been, I can see the mind's war. I can see its war making. I can see that it is always at war with what is. It doesn't matter what is. It doesn't matter what is. The mind is always at war with it. But now with this space, I can choose not to make the mind's war my war. Which means I don't have to fight it. I don't have to fight the mind. I can see and recognize making war is not something that I want to do. It's not something that I like doing. So I'm going to not. I can choose not to make war. I don't have to change the mind. I don't have to fight it. I can let it fight. I can observe that. Hold it in awareness without being impacted by it. And then all this space opened up, and the reminders that suffering is not necessary, and it is a personal practice. Suffering is a personal practice. It's not created by the world. It's not created by the conditions. In fact, the personal practice of suffering is what creates the conditions that appear to then cause it. And I'm not saying those conditions are great. I'm not saying that I like them. I don't endorse war, but it is happening. And it is happening because of identification with the mental war in each individual. And if we would like the external wars to stop, we must end our own identification with the mental warfare. But of course, that also means not requiring. We don't require. The conditions are this thing down the road, right? The source of that which is manifesting the conditions, is the identification with the mentally waged war. The mind at this point in time is militarized. I think this is something that could change. I really do. But currently the mind is militarized. It acts like an army. It's like a collective of thought forms that are organized around a central shared goal. And that goal is oppression. That goal is domination. And so it's just this single-minded sort of collective in itself that just opposes everything. And the way to be free from that is to see it and stop identifying with the mind and its war. Stop fighting for it, right? Stop being a soldier in that war. And let it be. See that the mind's war has nothing to do with you. And the more of us that do that, the less energy there is to turn into, to manifest as physical warfare. But again, that's just kind of the trickle-down effect. Because as soon as you stop in this instant identifying with the mind's war, you feel the peace of not being at war. And then you see, you don't need physical wars to end in order for you to have this peace. The only war that you can end, you can't control that. You cannot control that. That is not your place. It is not our place to end the suffering of the world, to end the wars of the world. The only one that we can end is the one in us. The only suffering we can give up is ours. And that does have an effect. That does help. But even still, it's up to every individual. We can make it easier for other people to give that stuff up by giving it up ourselves, but ultimately it doesn't matter. It's not your place to do that for anyone. You don't need to. It's okay. It's okay. This is what I'm remembering. This is what I'm reminding myself. Stand in your own peace. Give up your own suffering. Give up the story of why martyrdom is necessary. If you're watching this, you're probably a person who is also sensitive, deeply feeling, empathic, whatever the fuck you want to call it. A person who has a story that says, I'm supposed to hold other people's pain. Bullshit. It's time to put that down. It's time to put that down. I'm sorry, but that's not true. It's not true. It's not helpful. It's not doing anything that we think it is. Does it feel truly empowering, or does it feel kind of, ego inflation-y? And that's not a judgment. I have been examining this in myself. These are the questions that I was asking myself the past couple of days. What is so scary about giving up this story? What am I afraid of? Because I could feel the fear in it. What am I afraid of? What do I fear would happen, or that it would mean, if I stopped needing to be the person who took on others' pain? Would I feel like less? Would I feel less than? Would I feel like a bad person? Would there be some sort of moral weight or judgment upon me at that point? Would it feel like a loss of myself? What is the value of that loss if that self was just a story to begin with? If this self that I'm afraid of losing doesn't actually exist, it's not actually me, it's just a story. What kind of loss is that then? Am I actually losing anything? If I put down what's false and I allow what's true, is that negative? Is that a bad thing? Is that really something I don't want? Anyway, I gotta go inside. But I had picked up the mantle of suffering again. I had picked up the burdens of others, the weight of their worry, of their misery. It's something that I should feel bad about. This is the story. I should feel bad. I should share it with them. I should be burdened by their misery. Because in somehow, some way, that's going to help, I guess. Or it makes them more comfortable because they don't feel like I'm ignoring them or uncaring. And then these are the words that I would be called if I didn't do that. This is what would happen. I would be called names. I would be called, and have been. This is why it has triggered me. I would be called uncaring, unfeeling, unloving. I would be called part of the problem. Okay, I would become part of the problem. I would be seen as part of that which is causing the suffering. I would be told that I am creating this pain. I'm adding to this misery. I could not even alleviate it, I guess, because I can't. But the implication is that maybe I could. If I took on the pain with this person, if I started suffering with this person, with the world, that would somehow alleviate it. How could feeling powerless and victimized relieve pain? This whole, again, like, feel bad now and you'll feel good later. I'm sensitive to other people telling me that I'm creating harm. That's a triggering thing for me. That has pretty easily shaken me out of my own knowing. And I do mean harm, not hurt, because there have been times that I can have effective communication, primarily with my partner, because she is one of the only people that I know who is practicing this and aware enough to be taking ownership of her own experience. And so if something arises and there's a feeling of hurt, that feeling of hurting can be shared without accusation. And from there we can have an honest, open discussion of, is this something that, is just a trigger for you? Or is this something where I can recognize and also own, I was lost in my own stuff for a while, and I don't really like that this was the behavior that emerged. But again, there's no accusation or like shame or judgment. There's just an awareness of like, I don't like that this is the behavior that emerged from me. And then we can just like share in this desire of there's an asking happening for something other than this next time from both of us. And again, there's no accusation here. It's not like you did something wrong and you hurt me and I need you to correct that for me to feel better. It's nothing like that. It's just a recognition of, oh yeah, this didn't feel great when this happened. And you know, maybe I wasn't super present. I was caught up in this story and I can see that now. And I am asking now, we're both asking for an improved version of relating next time where this hurting doesn't happen. And we both have an opportunity to look at and again take ownership for the triggering and appreciation for the stories that are revealed by this. And so having a discussion about hurting is always on the table. But what I can no longer accept is the projection of having caused harm or being a part of harm causing or harm happening. Suffering is happening. War is happening. Absolutely. Again, I'm not endorsing those things. But it's not my place or my ability to stop them. And the only thing that I can do is not participate in war in myself, not participate in suffering in myself. And through that demonstration, it's revealed, it's shown to others that they also have that choice, that they too can choose themselves to stop participating in war and suffering, but only each person can make that choice. And it cannot be forced upon us. It cannot be influenced in any way. You can't be manipulated into that. It has to be the opposite. It has to be the stripping down of everything, the discarding of all the stories to see and say, okay, look, this is the free choice that you were making. You have the free choice to stop. You can freely choose to stop, but it's still up to you. I can't tell you what to do. I can't do it for you. And I've chosen and then stopped choosing this over and over. So every time I practice making this choice, I ask to be able to hold on to it. I ask to be able to keep making this choice. And a part of that is being triggered. A part of that is being talked out of it. I know that very well. And there are certain individuals in my life who are very good at talking me out of it. And they're there for a reason. They're there to help me practice holding my ground, and if I lose my ground, to find my way back to it. I don't blame them whatsoever. I'm grateful for that. And at a certain point, I believe that they'll be finished with that. They'll also be done with that role. Anyways, I always do this. I say I gotta go inside, and then I speak for another 10 minutes. Whatever, it's fine. It's time to give up the stories that say suffering is necessary and war is unavoidable. You can end it in yourself. It's not anybody's place to end it out there. But we can stop right now by seeing the mind is waging war. The mind is waging war. That's what it does. Currently, that's what it does. That's what it's doing. And that's fine. It's okay. We don't need to fight that war. We don't need to stop that war. Trying to stop war is an act of war. It is. But it's not necessary to do anything. What we can do, and all we can do, is to stop identifying with it, stop making the mind's war our own, put down the stories of suffering, and every time you feel some sort of heaviness, some sort of stifling kind of pain, an ache that is unexpected, that feels like a burden to you, that is not open and flowing and expansive, to recognize, I've picked something up that isn't mine. This isn't mine. Oh, this isn't mine. Oh, just a moment of recognition and awareness. This isn't mine. I'm putting this down now. I do not accept this. I do not accept what isn't mine. It's like someone handing you something that doesn't belong to you, and you just politely refuse. You just say, no, actually, that isn't mine. Why would I take what isn't mine? It needs to go to whom it belongs. I'm not helping anything by holding on to this. Let it find them. Let it go back to whom it belongs. I'm going to be here with whatever arises for me. And, a part of what arises is this other stuff, is this stuff that belongs to other people. That's an opportunity. All of this is coming to me for a reason. That reason is for me to be able to feel and practice and say, oh, you know what? This isn't actually mine. Here you go. Maybe I hold it for a second and I feel that weight of it and go, things that are mine don't feel like this. This is how I know it's not mine. Things that are mine, pain that is mine, doesn't have this oppressive quality to it. It doesn't have this deadening, suffocating weight to it. So this is part of how I'm knowing that this isn't mine. Here you go. And it's not like you're passing this dead weight to somebody else to hold, because when it's held by the person to whom it belongs, it doesn't feel that way either. It doesn't feel, when you hold your own pain, it doesn't feel like dead weight. It feels alive. It feels like a homecoming. All you're doing is giving whoever that belongs to an opportunity to experience that for themselves. You're not passing suffering to them. It's suffering when you take it. It's just pain for them. And they can handle that. It's time to trust that other people can handle their own shit. You can handle your own shit. You know that. Other people are capable of it too. We can safely let them do that now. Okay, it's not our place, it's not our responsibility. End the war in yourself. Put down the suffering that you never needed to carry. It's time. It's safe. You're allowed to do that. You're not bad. Feeling bad now is not going to help you or anybody feel better later. It's not. All you can do is put that shit down and feel the peace and the pleasantry that is the peace. It's more than pleasure. It's just peace and satisfaction, okay? The joy that arises from just being here, and when you're not carrying other shit that doesn't belong to you, you feel it. It's just already here. The peace is already here. When we stop fighting the mental war, when we stop identifying with it, it shows up, it reveals itself. It's here. When we put down the suffering that isn't ours, oh, what do you know? The joy of being just arises. It was always here, but we were carrying shit and identifying with shit that we didn't need to. Just put that down now. It's time. I love you. Take it easy.